I always want to be the poorest, dumbest guy in the room. That's the goal. I know I've got the confidence in what I can deliver, so I can walk into a room with billionaires, with industry leaders. And as long as I'm knowledgeable of what I'm talking about and confident in it, then I'm on their level. Always ask why. Why? Why can't we do that? Why can't this happen? The answer is never no. Like, I never take no for an answer.
So today I'm with Jonny Dodge, which is an incredibly cool name, in the Dubai Air Show in front of all these incredible jets, because your business is dealing in luxury jets, yachts, all this kind of stuff. Could you tell us about the journey of your idea and how you got started and how you got into this market?
Well, the luxury world, doesn't any kid love being around all the fast cars, toys? Like, so it was, of course, any young boy's passion to do that. I wanted to race around in supercars and do fun things. I was lucky enough that my father's business was fitting out super yachts and private jets. So even as a little kid, I was down at the Monaco Yacht Show, running onto these giant boats and dreaming of having one day or being around that environment. So it was such a dream to kind of go from there and take that vision into reality. As kind of I found different ways of getting closer to what I dreamed of along the way. So yeah, it's been an exciting journey.
So before we get into what your business is today, do you want to talk? We were talking off camera there before we started the interview, how you got started. And I was saying, did you start? Did you have a mattress with money under it, or did you inherit money, or the challenge of how do you start out in business? Could you explain to us how you got started?
I studied product design, so designing mobile phones, whatever that might be. But ultimately, it taught me how to design something the consumer wanted, whether that was a product or a service or an experience. It taught me that creative nature. So that then led me on to my first internship. And internships are what I would always say is the greatest opportunity. I offer them now in all our businesses, and they give you an amazing cornerstone to be able to learn from. So yeah, take the hit and don't get paid very much, but take those internships, because that's where you're going to learn and find that opportunity. So I did that, and it was for a creative marketing agency. We were looking after a cigarette brand at the time, and it meant that I got invited to all these celebrity parties because we were sponsoring them. I then became that guy about town that everyone wanted to meet because I was the guy supporting those events. And then that led into a world of me doing PR and my own events with my own company. And then getting connected with the Gumball Rally, which was my first real job, organizing a celebrity supercar rally around the world. And then leaving that and turning to my parents. And of course, they'd had a little nest egg for me to go, right, as some parents hopefully would have, is to go, here's some money towards your first house. And I was lucky enough to have that. And I turned around to my mum and I said, Mum, I'm going to buy a nightclub if that's okay. And she's like, Jonny, if you think it's a good idea. And I was like, of course I do. I want to buy a nightclub. And I did. And
was she on the guest list?
She came a couple of times for sure. But ultimately, I lost everything in that. But what a great experience that was. It's all about that experience and learning for sure.
And so then you had the nightclub, you lost the nightclub, your parents are still speaking to you. Where do you go from there?
So, I was fortunate enough to have a billionaire business partner, a guy called Tony Fernandez.
Wait. Where did this billionaire business partner come from, and how did they become your business partner?
I think that I'm great at creating relationships, and I want to connect. And my golden rule is that iconic one, which is you are the 5 people you spend the most time with, and you've got to take that so importantly. It really does matter. And if you want to be around an environment of happy people, then be with happy people, and you are happy. If you're around an environment of sad people, then you're around an environment of lazy people, you're going to get that. So I've always been striving to be around that environment of really big visionary people, and hoping that I always want to be the poorest, dumbest guy in the room. That's the goal. Some people say the other day, someone said to me, I felt the lowest person in the room. That's what I aspire to be. So, I was lucky enough to, in organising the Gumball Rally, I met a guy on it called Freddie Laker. Freddie was such an inspiring character, and his son, it was equally so, and certainly a wild one too. So we were great friends, and he one day in London said, hey, do you want to come for dinner with this guy? He's naming a plane after my dad. And I was like, sure, why not? So I met this guy called Tony Fernandez, and we became mates and went out in London all the time. And he owned AirAsia and had big visions for other things. He was sponsoring a Formula One team at the time, and he said to me, "Johnny, I'm going to buy a Formula One team." And he invited me to the Monaco Grand Prix on his yacht, and we went and watched the race from Stelios' apartment. And again, connecting those incredible people and inspired by them. And then he messaged me soon after that being like, "I bought a Formula One team." I'm like, "What? You did it?" He was saying, "Do you want to come and work for me at the team?" I was like, "I'll never work for you, but maybe you can introduce me to Bernie Ecclestone and connect me." And kindly enough, he did. And that gave me that stepping stone when I wanted to step away from the club and then move on and have that exciting dream of getting into cars and that my passion for that. So with the connection to Bernie, I then knew that there was an event I wanted to do. I wanted to do the Grand Prix ball, the gala dinner before Silverstone. It had happened before, but it hadn't worked out, hadn't been done officially, nothing was been done properly. So my first opportunity to put on a big event myself and go on risk for it and start to actually make some big returns was to then go, right, I need to call up Bernie Ecclestone, I need to ask him permission to do the Grand Prix ball. So I called up Formula One management and was like, "Hi, can I speak to Mr. Ecclestone?" They were like, "Yeah, we'll let him know." Called up again, "Hi, can I speak to Mr. Ecclestone?" "Yeah, we'll let him know." A week later, I got a phone call. "Hello, Johnny. I've got Mr. Ecclestone on the line for you." And I spoke to Bernie, and he said, "Look, I've heard good things about you. Why don't you do that? I'm happy with you doing that. Also, we've got this thing called F1 Rocks, concerts and parties around the race. Why don't you speak to a friend of mine, Rob, who's doing it, and I want you to get involved." So when I met with him, and we ended up doing the F1 Rocks parties around the world.
Now that sounds like your back of a napkin moment. I mean, you had this idea, you had this passion. How did you turn that back of a napkin idea into an actual global party with Bernie Ecclestone saying, "Let's do it"?
I mean, good question. I mean, I think that you always go into these situations going, right, well, I'll say I can do it all, and then when it all happens, you make it happen. I mean, ultimately with the gala dinner, I didn't have the money for it, but I only had to put down a few £1,000 deposit on the venue. I could have sold my first tickets before I even put down the deposit, so it was already covering my costs. And at first event, I think I made £15,000 and was like, "This is amazing." And so it just rolled on from there. And then having those leveling up, you really like. I've always seen myself on par with others, and I've never felt awkward in situations or below them. I know I've got the confidence in what I can deliver, so I can walk into a room with billionaires, with industry leaders, and as long as I'm knowledgeable of what I'm talking about and confident in it, then I'm on their level. Like it doesn't faze me. So it's about having that confidence to go into that room, talk about it, and I knew that I was one of the best at what I was doing in that specific thing, for sure.
And there's, is an entrepreneur born or made? Do you think these are skills you just had? Or do you think these are skills that you've learned through situations you've been in and the mentors you've had? What's your opinion on that?
I think that I was lucky to have some skill sets that were really core to that, and my ability to always ask why. Why can't we do that? Why can't this happen? The answer is never no. Like, I never take no for an answer. And I'm always just asking why. It's not blindly saying never take no. It's just asking, why can't we do this? Why can't that happen? And I knew that I could take those steps further and further to be able to push the boundaries and be able to get to those places. But those core skills are about, is it about talking the right way, having the right ideas, but if you can push and strive and just knowing that nothing's impossible and setting those big goals, you had to set big goals. Like, I'd rather set a giant goal and fail. That's far more success than getting a small goal and achieving it. So there's a bit of curation in that vision to get to an entrepreneur, but I certainly have that toolkit.
So tell us about your business today. Obviously it's come a long way from the nightclub that your mum blindly supported. What is it you do today, and what makes you unique in the market?
Well, of course, we grew GP Management, our F1 business, into an international business now that's running events around almost all the Formula One races in the calendar and working with Formula One teams. That then expanded onto GPM, our corporate incentive program, doing extreme adventures in corporate incentive, taking people to Antarctica and crazy trips around the world, and understanding that a new way of inspiring and employees and motivating staff through these programs. That's led on to a plethora of other luxury businesses, and now I have an amazing team that run GPM, and I can step away from that, and we've gone on to build so many other businesses since. So I have My Ocean, which is our super yacht business, selling and chartering super yachts and managing them too. And then here today, we have Your Sky, our jet business, which focuses on selling and chartering very large aircraft like the Boeing you see behind us, and the Airbus is just down there. So there's a wide group of other companies that I've founded, and some I still manage day to day, and some I have a great team in place. But we do some cool stuff, even send people to space, so it's fun.
One of the other things I thought would be quite cool to ask you is, a lot of people watching this channel will be entrepreneurs and dreamers that one day want to become successful. As someone that sells jets and yachts to successful people, do you have any top tips for an aspiring millionaire or billionaire when they reach it? Should they buy a big jet, a small jet, a yacht? What should they do first? Charter, buy, decorate? What's your advice for when they hit it big?
I mean, for me, I'm always so risk averse. I'm always try before you buy, of course. And I mean, it's always finding that opportunity. I mean, with an aircraft like that, of course, yeah. I mean, you can charter one for $500,000 if you're flying from Miami to Abu Dhabi, like one of our clients did the other month. But find that dead leg, go and try the experience, buy yourself into it. It's like, just upgrade yourself a little bit each time and get a taster for it. And it's about setting that personal goal in your head of achieving that, but then just getting your little entry point into all of those experiences. Maybe I couldn't afford that normally, but if I get the dead leg on the flight that's not being used, like, they'll get a cheap deal on that, or like get that slightly older yacht, or like, and just gradually go beyond what you were expecting you could achieve.
One of the things we've been asking everybody we interview is, if you were to meet your younger self in the pub tomorrow, what advice would you give them?
I think one key thing is dream bigger. Like for me, I think always you dream too small, and knowing that it's always possible. Every time it's always possible. Every time I think it isn't. And one of my key experiences that I've learned along the way is every time something that some people might class as negative or not positive happens, something that you didn't plan for, every single time without fail, something greater has come along, and be confident in that being the case.
Amazing. Thank you very much indeed for your time here today with this stunning backdrop.
It's great, right?
And we wish you all the very best for the future.
Thank you. Real
Cheers,
pleasure.
Jonny. Thank you.
Cheers.